In 1991, I was 11 years old, and at the time, there was nothing more important to me than seeing Freddy's Dead. When I heard it was coming out, I again, like when I found out Dream Master was coming out, had all of these theories in my head about what could be, what's going to happen, how are they going to kill Freddy off? And then when it finally came out, was I satisfied? That's right. We're talking about Freddy's Dead tonight. I know everybody's been looking forward to this one, been waiting for this one. The best Freddy's Dead movie that came out in 1991. Anyway, tonight's the night. We're talking about Freddy's Dead. I feel like everything's running slower on my screen. It could be, I don't know. Blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I'm going to bring Seth in just a moment. There's a programming announcement. If you're new to the channel, you should subscribe, probably. Yeah. You subscribe, I'll give you a 5-star with a heart. Or a 1-star with a laugh emoji. So what we're going to do is move the Horror Syndicate Discourse show over to Sunday nights tonight about this time slot to do our normal Wednesday night show. Nathan's taking a class. I think it's a Shakespearean acting class, which is super fucking cool in my opinion, and with his daughter too, which is even cooler. And we're gonna take this show, which was on Fridays, and then we had to move it because of Seth had a scheduling conflict. Seth, oh, it's all about me. We're gonna move it to another night, TBD. I'm going to Minnesota this weekend coming up. So there will be no show at all next Sunday. So I think it's June 7th. I think we're coming live with the next episode, which is on the Neon Demon. Yes, one of Jared's favorites from, I think, 2016. That'll be our topic for the first Sunday night show. No, that's right. And we're going to have some fun with that one. But on this Wednesday, our last Wednesday night show, the day before my birthday, my birthday is coming up. What'd you guys get me? How about some, you know what I want? More subscriptions. I want you to subscribe to the Horror Syndicate on YouTube and more Facebook page likes. Get the page to 34,000 likes by Thursday, my birthday. It's like 150 away. It's not that much, maybe less actually at this point. But anyway, like I said, lots going on. I think I'm going to do a show where it's just me interviewing people and giving the bird to some motherfuckers who talk shit about the Horror Syndicate. Because you got to talk shit about the Horror Syndicate when everybody else is doing well and you're just kind of floundering. You gotta talk shit about them behind their back. Fuck you. Anyway, here's my buddy Seth. Seth, how the fuck are you? The map says Seth's fucked. Razor says we're fucked. Who's fucked? We're all fucked.
How's it going, man?
Peachy fucking keen, man. Peachy keen. Freddy's Dead is a bad movie, but fun as hell. 100% agree. Let's see. Freddy looks horrible in this, though. Yes, he does. Alex, possible future, podcast something or other. Don't worry about Seth. He's fine. Okay? He's just, the map says he's fucked. I got to turn my volume down. Man, are you ready to talk about some Freddy's Dead? Now, I forgot to tell, we may have Milliner on the show. He's on our Wednesday night show, so he may join in a bit. And Seth, and we know it's been highly documented that Freddy's Dead is 100% canon and Nathan's favorite Freddy movie. This is how he fell in love with the franchise. He made his movie. He's like, I want to do something that's unlike Freddy and make Confession of Fred Krueger, because this is nothing like what I think he is. Because obviously Freddy's a family man. He
Right.
shakes his wife to death. He's got like 10 other kinds of gloves. And,
Yeah.
I, anyway, I don't want to. No, Nate does not like this movie. He likes it, but I don't think he, likes it, if that makes any sense. It's like a cartoon. Um, so let's get into the conversation here. And of course, if you have never commented before, we would love to hear your comments on what we're talking about. We want to know how you feel about this movie. We want to know everything: your underwear size, your shoe size, your bra size, if you have man boobs. Um, so Seth, let's get into this one. What can you give us? Oh, I'll send you another link, Nate. Unless you can't because you're unable to. Um, why don't you give us that synopsis that we love so much of this fine film?
An asshole.
So I've had that in my head all day. That's why I played it. Usually I wouldn't do it on this show, so I had to play it.
Yeah. So basically, New Line Cinema decided, hey, we're gonna be done with Freddy. So let's do
Oh
one
my
last
God!
movie.
Hold on. I'm so sorry to hear that. Hopefully you're in watching this show.
Jesus.
We can give you a little bit of fun, maybe. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. I lost
Oh,
my wife in 2017 to cancer, so I feel for you.
oh, that's terrible.
That way to kick off the show. Go
Ouch.
ahead and I know that sucks. Go ahead and
Wow. Damn. Really sorry to hear that.
yeah,
That's terrible.
that's
Um,
awful.
yeah. Couldn't imagine. Best of luck to you. Um, so yeah. Wow.
Now you're
Freddy's dead.
flabbergasted.
As far as this movie goes, yeah, New Line Cinema decided that they were going to end the series once and for all. So they did the respectful thing and decided to do a absolutely batshit crazy movie that has nothing to do with the rest of them, and do Freddy in a Looney Tunes way. Because hey, if we're gonna end the series, we might as well just kill the character in the franchise with a piece of shit movie. I know you like it, and there is fun to it. Like I can watch it when I marathon
Yeah, but
these.
I like it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah,
So
this
no,
yeah, but it's it is my least favorite nightmare movie. I would 10 times rather watch the remake than this. But yeah, so basically that's it. They decided that for Freddy, who could barely kill a handful of teens at a time for nearly 10 years, somehow managed to wipe out every single teen in Springwood. And until there's one last one left who is absolutely terrible at math and believes that he could potentially be Freddy's son, even though it doesn't line up. And how do you explain this? This is a Looney Tunes movie. It's
all the
one that you can,
rules. Just there are no rules to this movie. Every rule that we've learned for the first 5 movies, out the window. I mean, essentially, everything
yeah,
that's been built has been just pissed on, shit on.
yeah.
I hate to be that way, but I think that's pretty accurate.
Well, that's my big problem with this movie is like the decision that went into this particular story,
Mhm.
because it's like you consciously made a decision to bring the series to a close. Okay, New Line was getting big. Freddy got them a lot of success,
Oh yeah,
but the
New
returns were
Line's the
kind
house
of
that
going
Freddy built.
right. But returns kind of went down with part 5, and you decided, hey, we're gonna end this and we're gonna just move on to bigger and better things. And instead of doing an actual finale that kind of wraps everything up, that gives like a proper end to the character and to the story, they just did this really weird Looney Tunes version for some reason that one had nothing to do with any type of storyline from before. It introduced a new idea with Freddy having a daughter. Their big idea for killing Freddy once and for all is exactly pretty much we've seen him get pulled into the real world and killed before, so it just it's not like it was anything groundbreaking there. Yeah, so I've always viewed this as it's one that I can watch. I don't really go out of my way to watch it. I just think the story that they went with, decisions they made behind this were just, I don't know what kind of drugs that the executives were on, but I hope that they got helped. I hope they got some counseling and some.
I hope they never worked again in the business. And we do have Walking Nate with us. Nate, can you hear us?
Hey.
It's a nice night for a walk, my friend.
Yes.
How's it going?
It's going good.
Are we walking alone, or do you have one of your lovely ladies with you?
My daughter's in front of me.
There we go. Fantastic.
So she's got my Deborah Hill shirt on.
Oh, we produced by Deborah Hill
cool.
shirt? She is that cool. Your daughter is pretty
I was
bad.
I don't think I told that story. I was at a convention and someone saw that shirt and they go, "Is that your mom?" And I'm like, what? I thought you got that shirt made with your mom's name on it. No, it's a producer.
Dude, well, that's a great horror fan, if you ask me.
Yeah.
I actually wouldn't mind. Where'd you get that shirt from, anyway?
I think it was like one of those like T-Public type deals.
Maybe your mom could make me one.
Maybe your mom can make me one.
Hey, my mom's dead. Come on.
I know.
Maybe she can. Who knows?
We're that cruel on here.
I know. My mom sat through Freddy's Dead with me, and I remember because she watched all of me with the same enthusiasm that I have because she loves horror movies, and I remember her just looking at me afterwards like that was dumb, just straight up, flat out said that was dumb. So, yeah. Anyway, Nate, man, tell us your love for this movie because we know how much you love it.
Oh, man. No, I don't hate this movie.
No,
I hate
this is an unhateable movie, honestly.
Yeah, it's too fun.
Yeah,
it's more of a man. I really hate that they took so many liberties with the character and the origins and everything.
Yeah.
But by that time, man, this series was in a dead end anyway, and they just had fun with it. I mean, the filmmakers. They got to keep it fun and interesting, and I think that's what they were doing. They were like, "I'll just keep repeating ourselves. Let's make a cartoon. Let's make a Warner Brothers movie."
Yeah, exactly, and that's the way to look at this movie. It is kind of like a cartoon. And Seth even mentioned, did you say Funhouse or something like that? It's like Freddy's Funhouse, in a way, because how does he kill Carlos? Nails on a chalkboard, essentially. So how does
Which is a great sequence.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. The death scenes are so fun in this movie, with the exception of John's. I don't think his was great, but Spencer's and Carlos are really great.
Isn't that one of Robert's favorite kills? Is Carlos?
Yeah, I think he said. I did think you're right. I think he did say that. It is. I mean, he just Bob Shea used to call Robert a ham, and he got to ham it up hardcore in that scene.
Nice hearing from you, Carlos.
And then the best part was seeing him in a fucking Domino's commercial a couple days later. I think he was in.
Oh yeah, he did all those.
Yeah. So Seth, I want to when did you get to see this one? Because I know you were later in the game for horror. Like I saw this in '91 when it came out. I'm sure Nate did too.
Yeah.
It was the late '90s. It was again when I borrowed this VHS box set.
Watched them all. You never gave back.
Huh?
That apparently you never gave back.
No, actually, he sent me this like 3 years ago. He's like, "Hey, what's your address? I got something for you." I got the package and I opened it up. I was like, "Holy shit, that's awesome!"
You lucky son of a bitch.
Yeah. But just real quick, I love Carlos and his death scene. I think Carlos is my favorite character in the movie. His death scene is really cool. I love the map says we're fucked bit. Great stuff. I don't like Spencer's death at all. And
really,
you like me?
it was the whole sequence is way too much. And I know you guys don't smoke pot, but pot doesn't do that to you. You don't hallucinate. You don't hallucinate. Like he, he wasn't. He was smoking pot. He
I
wasn't.
know he wasn't tripping out,
Right. He
like
wasn't a shrimp. Come on.
pot can put you to sleep though. But
It can put you to sleep. It can relax you, but you're
Yeah.
not gonna.
you're not gonna hear Iron Butterfly and a guy does
Yeah.
Vita and see cartoons forming around you, and then being chased around by Freddy and his power glove.
It amazes me because Hollywood is full of potheads, and yet they all treat it like it's acid. Personal
Maybe-
pet peeve.
Personal
Not
pet
that I
peeve.
know.
Personal pet peeve from a pothead.
It was the Bush administration forcing them to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a say no to drugs thing,
Yeah.
just like
If it had come out 1 year later when Bill was in office,
it would have been accurate.
but, hey man, go ahead.
Yeah.
Tell them what we really does.
So on this show, Nate, which you've watched, we like to talk about first of all the things we do like. So like I know we talked about some of the death scenes and Carl's suspense. Is there anything else really? I mean, again, it's a fun movie. It's not scary. This one is more comedy than horror. And they try to do the 3D thing. They give Freddy a way different backstory. What is there anything else that you like about this one? And now Seth, after he's done, I want you to say.
I really love the Iggy Pop montage video at the end.
Oh, I do too. That's awesome. That's the best part of the whole movie. Essentially.
And I like the Goo Goo Dolls song at the beginning.
I'm awake now, or whatever.
Yeah, I like that song a lot. I like the character Tracy. I like the Yafet Kodo.
Yeah.
I like the scene he has with Freddy where they're in the locker room or whatever, and he does the whole, hey, first they tried burning me. Yeah, I thought that was a great, because it was very rare that Freddy got to have an actual conversation with people. And I think it may even be the only one other than like maybe Kristen in the Boiler Room Part 4. But this is like a full-on conversation.
With an adult too.
I mean, that was when I did Confession, that was a big thing. I was like, I want to see Freddy have an actual conversation with people in a movie. Because it's usually just one-liners and a few little bits and pieces. But there he actually has a genuine talk with him.
Yeah, with Mr. Big. Did you like?
And I mean, there's a few other things. I like the.
Did you like the going down memory lane part when you go into his brain?
I mean, I'm a big Alice Cooper guy, so I like that.
Freddy,
Alice plays his dad. Come get your medicine.
You're a waste of scab. How can you take you in?
I mean, I remember being very disappointed at it because it was advertised as 3D, and I get the 3D glasses, and I'm like, wait to put them on when they tell you, and I'm watching the movie like, when the fuck am I going to have to put these on, you know?
Yeah.
And now 3D just doesn't. I mean, at least this movie's goofy. Like, Friday the 13th Part 3 wasn't supposed to be goofy, from what I understand, but it's goofy because of the 3D.
A lot of it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think Jaws 3 is supposed to be goofy, but it's goofy because of the 3D. So
yes, Jared's favorite.
This movie at least is supposed to be stupid, you know. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't like I said, I don't hate the movie. I have a big problem with Suburbanite Freddy and Family Man Freddy because that is not the character Wes Craven created.
No, this
is like I mean, it's a complete 180 to me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree with you.
So that's but yeah, there's a lot to like. It's a fun movie. Like Seth said, the map says we're fucked. Geez, I'm trying to remember everything, but yeah, I mean at that point again, slashers were dead, and it was just a fun time. I mean, anytime I get to see Robert Englund play Freddy is worth it. I mean, he's the only good thing about Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah, pretty much. We got that one coming up.
Yeah.
the hell was that? You got a dog out there?
There's a dog barking.
Is that American Werewolf in London happening?
Yeah.
American
Cujo.
Werewolf in Louisville?
More Cujo coming.
Cujo. It's man's best friend.
Beware the moon, lad.
I don't see the moon now.
Stay off the moors.
Uh-oh. Oops. Oh,
Seth,
shit, that's
what
Griffin
about
Dunn.
you, man? What are some of the things you like about this one?
Well, let's see here. Besides Carlos, I like a little bit of seeing Freddy's life leading up to it, like seeing him as a kid, stuff like that. Like Nate, I don't really care for the shaken wifey syndrome thing, but it's hard to say because like. I mean, I guess I like Yaphet Kotto. I like Lisa Zane.
I love Lisa Zane in this. Yeah,
the
she is. By the way, she is as enchanting in person as she is in that movie. Like, I don't know what it is about her presence, but like, it was like, when I was like under a love spell when I met her, I was like, oh, good.
I think the actors are all fairly well in this. I think they all give it their best. It's just I think they were just. I think this movie was doomed from some of the studio decisions behind this one.
I mean, the studio deciding to make it is made it, but it didn't do well in the box office.
It very well could have. I mean, when you have something called Freddy's Dead and the poster says we saved the best for last, I'm sure that probably.
Fucking liars.
That is one of the biggest lies in horror history. Let's see, Freddy's Dead made $34.9 million.
They're not going to be on. They're not going to be honest though. Like, hey, we saved the less for it's all right.
Yeah, we saved the worst for last. Go see it. I mean, my biggest problems with this. I know Nate, yours is probably that your biggest problem is probably the departure of the Freddy that Wes created. But I think my biggest problem is this really has no, as I said last time we did one of these shows, any connective tissue to the rest of the series, like at all. And that
I don't
really
consider it part of. To me, I don't consider it canon. I consider it.
No, it's not. It's not
a standalone offshoot like New Nightmare and Freddy versus Jason.
Exactly. Okay, so it's the fourth highest grossing Elm Street film. It made more than New Nightmare. It made more than the remake. No, oh my God, the remake is the highest grossing.
Adjusted for inflation, though.
Right. It
probably
made more than 2. So it's just, I don't know. I think a lot of missed opportunities. I'm not sure why they didn't bring back Lisa Wilcox. I mean, I still, like I said last time, I don't think that her arc was done by any means. I would have loved to see her come back. I mean, Friday the 13th got their trilogy with their main guy, Tommy Jarvis.
Well, knowing Shay, probably didn't want to pay Lisa anything.
God, Bob Shay. Well, this one cost about $11 million, which seems kind of high for '91. And I mean, they did some dumb shit. You thought they did some dumb shit in 5 with like Mark's death and stuff like that. This one, like, seriously, that John kid, his death was one of the worst.
As bad as like Skateboard Freddy is, it doesn't compare to Margaret Hamilton Freddy. And the broomstick.
I mean, they fucking even put that front and center at the beginning of the movie. Freddy on a broomstick. They would. I mean, come on. Oh man, this is a long one. I remember seeing it in theaters. The 3D bits were crap. What happened in Springwood and the people. So this also took place in 1999, I think. It's when it actually took place. But the movie has some great parts. The death of Carlos is probably my favorite, and I still crack up at Freddy flying outside the little house like the Wicked Witch. I'll get you my and it's funny because that's which effects artist decided to make him more witch-like, Kevin Yeager. So he's got that hook.
But this point, the makeup's terrible in this one.
Oh, he looks like
to
old hobo with. He's like skinless Freddy, but not as sexy as Julia. Skinless Julia too. Uh, so let's talk about what I mean. We already kind of established what bothered us, but like, what really gets you with this movie? Because I like we know this is fun, we know it's silly, and it's played up for laughs now. But like, is there anything other like that just really gets
you
you
know,
going?
I
Or your
wonder
goat?
if, well, like really before this movie, I think we have to look at Freddy's Nightmares,
Oh Lord.
because Freddy's Nightmares was as campy as this is. So this is just an offshoot of Freddy's Nightmares, really.
Yeah, I could see
Uh,
that.
they had already established that in that movie, in that show,
It's more like Freddy's
and
Playhouse
he
and
was
this
an
was
icon.
Freddy's Madhouse.
Yeah.
Well, and then also Rachel Talale, however you say her name, she was all about Twin Peaks, and she tried to jam Twin Peaks like
Well,
themes into this movie.
she had just made Crybaby with John Waters,
Oh, that's right, she made
and
Crybaby.
I think she may have been involved with Hairspray. I know she was a producer on Crybaby. That's how she got like Depp to
Yeah,
come back and all that. Um, so
Johnny Depp, you gotta come back.
she was definitely inspired by Waters, as well as Twin Peaks.
which is
Yeah.
the wrong direction to go for this. I feel like someone should have been like, okay, that's great that you're inspired by that, but I don't know. Shouldn't you be
Well, I
inspired by
mean,
it?
yeah, I mean, if you're gonna make a John Waters nightmare movie, get John Waters to make it. Don't
Yeah.
have somebody who's
No, that
emulating
would have
John
been
Waters.
wild. They would have made Freddy's a '50s greaser. Yeah,
Well, the thing is, like John kind of fits it because John always made, satires of the suburban nuclear family
Mhm.
and the bullshit of it and all that, and Freddy kind of does that. So, I mean, John Waters isn't too far away from what Wes was doing. He just does it in a different way.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
Serial Mom is brilliant.
yeah, I love Serial Mom.
Yeah.
But I think like Wes, because Wes was really making a movie about parents not listening to their children, like negligence,
Yeah.
and I think Waters probably plays into that, like adults not getting children and rebellious youth, and so I mean, I think John Waters would have made it very interesting. Freddy's Dead. I'd rather see him do it.
Yeah. Instead, you get somebody who's influenced by him and David Lynch, and and I don't know, man. From the get go, it didn't feel like an Elm Street movie. Well, it's not an Elm Street movie because it doesn't have it in the title. But you know what I'm saying? It didn't. It never felt like an Elm Street movie from the beginning.
Well, it was playing up to the whole Freddy as an icon thing.
Yeah.
Instead of being focused on story, Freddy being the villain of the piece, they were really kind of because, like Nate said, Freddy's Nightmares was out around the time, and so like they were just really kind of playing into that personality of the character, and in my opinion, it was the wrong decision to make. But
Totally.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I mean, I will say back then I didn't know any better. You know what I'm saying? Like, I soaked this up, watched it constantly. I bought the soundtrack.
Watch
Like
where you're walking.
and then
It's tricky up here.
when on VHS, I got it. I soaked it up 100%. But yeah, as I got older, I think when I started the Horror Syndicate, I rewatched it because I was doing the ranking, and I hadn't watched it in a while, and I was like, oh my god, this is almost unbearable compared to the other movies. And like I said, it is a lot of fun, but it was like such a departure even from five, which five wasn't that great, and five started with some comedic elements, not as much as this one. Like, I mean, there's like it's fucking legitimately Looney Tunes. Freddy is
Oh, it is.
like this kid's falling, and he pushes the fucking spikes out onto the road. Like,
Well, the problem with this movie, to take it seriously, to connect it to the other movies, you just can't, because the world we're in this movie is not reality. Like you said, like when they go to Springwood, there's no real place like that where all the kids are gone and all the people are nuts. Like that just isn't. That's not going to happen. And so it's completely removed from reality. It's not
Yeah.
literal. So
No.
that was my argument, because I would get attacked for confession, not having the father thing and the husband thing. I'm like, that movie's bullshit. It doesn't exist. It's another imaginary world. It is not the world in part 1 or part 2 or part 3 or part 4.
Well,
Unless
exactly.
everything we see in Freddy's Dead is a dream itself.
Mm.
Yeah.
What do you
I
think?
mean, because like I said at the beginning of the show, it's like Freddy could barely defeat. He could barely kill a few teens at a time per movie, and then we're supposed to believe that in a 10-year span he wiped out every single teenager in the region. It's unbelievable for an Elm Street movie. Because it's the same thing with Freddy vs. Jason. Like, Freddy gets his ass kicked by teenagers throughout his entire series, and then he's able to go fist to fist with Jason Voorhees. Yeah, right. But
Get fisted by Jason Voorhees. Oh, with his own fist. But
I understand where like people like Ray can have fun with this, and I think that if this is viewed
people like
on
Ray. What's that supposed to mean?
People like Ray.
no comment on that.
bulb.
No comment on that.
But like, well, I just mean like I can understand where like if you watch this at a distance from the other ones, like if you put this in with maybe a lot of space between the other ones, you could probably just have fun with it as like a popcorn movie.
Yeah, 100%.
But the problem is with me is like the only time I want to watch this is when I'm doing a marathon throughout the entire series. So
yeah, that's the only time I end up watching it myself.
yeah, so and then having those, so watching the other ones so close, especially the first 4, which I'm a huge fan of. I get to this one, and I'm like, what the hell happened here?
Do you think Rachel Talale, whatever her name is, slept with Bob Shea?
No, I believe she did.
I'm joking,
Well,
I'm joking.
I mean, you never know. I believe. Well, she was involved with Nightmare since the beginning, right?
Yeah, she was
Yeah,
like
she was in the first movie.
Yeah, what was she, production assistant or something like that?
Yeah, so I believe she worked her. I believe she worked her way up in the company, and I think, yeah, she probably was worthy of being hired to direct something at this point. Just not.
I mean, they gave it to a homeless, like, Swedish guy one time. So
Yeah, but
Well, yeah.
he had done a movie, though. Yeah.
Yeah, and also Sarah Risher says she felt bad that he kind of started smelling. She needed to give him a job.
Well, I mean, Rachel has gone on to direct some decent things. She's directed a few.
She's not. This is not an incompetent film. It's not like, you shouldn't rag on her too much.
No, I mean the direction's not a problem. It's really the story. But what has she directed, Seth? Because I don't even know.
Tank Girl. She did Tank Girl, right?
She did Tank Girl, yeah.
No.
But she's also directed some episodes of Supernatural that I've actually really liked. Oh yeah, yeah. And she's done, I think, other television stuff.
I think she's done Doctor Who. I think I've seen her name on Doctor Who a few times.
Yeah. My point is, like, she's not necessarily a bad director, and I don't think she was unworthy of getting the opportunity to direct at that time, because she did work herself. She worked her way up in the company, so I got a lot of respect for her for that. It's just she wasn't a right fit for Freddy for where she was at. Like, it seemed like she really wanted to do like a Twin Peaks inspired story, and they should have just let her get that out of her system first.
Yeah, I think that would be. I would like to see her make this movie without Freddy and see how different it could be and how much better it might be, because she might have actually made a really good movie. But you've got this fan base of almost a decade, 7 years at this point. And it's every fan base. They kind of do have expectations of certain movies, and I think this one, you expect it. I didn't expect Freddy to get blown up in the real world. I mean, did you? And the ending was complete shit anyway. I thought it was anyway. Even back then, I was like, that's how they killed Freddy? Come on.
Well, yeah, he's been pulled out of the dream world and killed in the real world before. It hasn't stopped him from coming back
No,
before.
I mean that legitimately happened in the very first movie, right? Uh,
Kind
well,
of. I mean,
yeah.
yeah, Nancy turned her back on him, but
He's called him shit, and for like 2 or 3 years after that, I thought Freddy was just a giant dream turd.
yeah.
So, I mean, he looks like a turd. But I don't know. I think it's I always blame her because at the end of the day, she's the director, and writers don't get much blame. They do now more than ever. But
Was it
like
this
when
Michael
it's like
DeLuca?
was it DeLuca?
Yeah, I think. Did he write this one?
DeLuca did write it.
Okay,
Um,
well,
Yeah.
fuck him.
But I don't know. To me, the way I see it is like anytime a movie is considered good, the director gets all the credit.
True.
But when a movie is considered bad, the writer gets shit on. And that's
Writer should
typically
never
for
get
people who
shit on.
don't seem to understand the fact that uh, the name you see as the writer credit is just the part, they're the start of it. But that writer hands in their script, they get notes from all these people who are not creative at all. People in the
Mhm.
suits dictate what they want in there. If you don't follow that, they can bring in other writers. There's a lot of scripts. There's a lot of movies where a lot of writers are not credited. So I'm always hesitant to kind of
Yeah, you can't
blame the writer, but it always seems like anytime a movie is bad, the writer gets crapped on. But if the
I
movie's
think
good, the director.
wasn't this one a well? I know one of the films, and correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't this one kind of a mishmash? Anyway, it wasn't all one script like any of the other ones may have been. Like I thought this was like
Well,
like multiple ideas like pushed into one script.
basically it was because I mean I think DeLuca had his ideas, but they also took elements from the Dream Police and put it in here.
Yeah, right.
I didn't read the Dream Lover script, so I don't know if they borrowed any elements from that. It's very possible, but there was definitely elements from Dream Police in here for sure, especially with the John Doe character who was originally supposed to be Jacob.
Oh, he was.
Yeah.
Well, that would have been better. We found that out. Why didn't they just leave that little bit in?
I'm thankful, so we don't have to count this as part of the original.
Yeah, I guess
story.
that's a good way to look at it. If there's any positive from the madness,
They didn't
is
make
that,
it Jacob. It's positive.
yeah, this doesn't count. Well, I mean, and this did start a trend for any Elm Street Freddy movie, single serving movies, because New Nightmare is completely different to this. And very different. It's very, what they say, meta these days. And of course, you got Freddy versus Jason that doesn't really fit in anywhere, and then the remake, which is a remake. So I mean, yeah, the entire Elm Street saga basically ends at the end of Dream Child with Alice, Yvonne, and her dad, and little Jacob Daniel.
Yeah.
That dude that played Jacob.
My sister named my nephew after.
Really? Jacob Daniel?
Yeah, my first nephew is Jacob Daniel, and my sister said, "Thank my brother. He used to watch those nightmare movies, and I always thought that was a nice name."
It is a nice name.
My brother-in-law's first name was Daniel.
Yeah, it is a nice name. But so the saga ends at 5, and then you got your single serving movie, which in a way kind of works for the Elm Street world anyway, because they're dream movies. I mean, Freddy pops up in your dream. Time and space don't really matter. I never thought they did anyway. That's why I think recasting Freddy shouldn't be as big of a fucking problem. Show up however he wants. He looked like a penis worm at one point. He showed up as a nurse with some nice tits. So like Freddy can change the way he looks. So recasting him shouldn't be a big deal. Anyway,
they got to eventually accept it.
Yeah, I mean I accept it. Oh, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of us who do. A lot of us are like, hey, it's just. I mean, it's like I made a hypothetical question a while back, like, what if the bullshit rumor that David Warner was originally cast as Freddy?
Yeah.
What if David Warner had been cast as Freddy, and he became who we knew as Freddy, and then maybe 3 years later he didn't want to do it anymore, and they still wanted to make more, so they hired this unknown actor named Robert Englund to take over for him. People would probably go, fuck this guy. David Warner's the only Freddy. So it's really not that there aren't enough actors out there who can do it. It's that if you're willing to accept it. So it's just
By the
stupid.
way,
It's just stupid to think that there are no actors who can do the job. Like really,
Right.
like Gary Oldman couldn't play Freddy Krueger. You know, like it's just stupid.
well, he could. Gary Oldman could do anything. I
Yeah.
mean, he's one of the greatest
But to
actors.
say
of all time.
only Robert, like bullshit.
No.
Daniel Day-Lewis could do it. You know, and there's a lot of guys you've never even seen before who could
Robert
do it.
Englund was Kevin Bacon. So, like, you know,
Yeah.
like, what do you want? How old is Robert now? He's in his 70s, isn't he?
75, I think.
Yeah, I mean, let it
He ain't
go.
gonna do it again.
No.
You don't want to sit in that fucking makeup chair for
I'd love him
4
to be in the
hours.
Elm Street movie, but I'd rather him play somebody else as
What?
like a nod to the old movies. You know, like maybe he can play Jesse's grandfather or lover.
I mean, they don't consider a 75-year-old man doesn't want to get up at 4 a.m. to go to a makeup trailer, sit there for 3 or 4 hours, and then start his day and work 14 hours in that makeup and the hot lights and the sweat, and the itching and the irritation, and then have to take it off after everyone's going home. That's what he had to endure when he made those movies. And he said Freddy versus Jason kicked his ass, and it wasn't because of all the fighting. It was just he was in his 50s, and now he's in his 70s. He's not going to do it again. And even if he did, they wouldn't be happy because look, when he was on the Goldbergs, everyone's like, "What happened? He looks fat." No, he doesn't look the same. Because he's not 30 anymore. He's not 40.
Yeah, I mean, you don't
75.
realize how old Robert Englund was when he was Freddy for the first time. Think about it. If he's 75
He was like 33,
now,
I think.
or 33. Yeah, exactly. I think now call me crazy, but I would like to see Elijah Wood play Freddy.
I thought you didn't like the short actors. You're talking about Jackie Earl Haley the other day.
Or hire all short other actors. I know. Well, he's taller than Jackie Earl Haley, though.
If they're going short, Tim Roth is my guy, but he's
How
probably
tall is Tim Roth?
he's not very tall.
But even so, he's getting old too, man. He's in his mid-50s.
He's in his 50s. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna put it on Facebook.
Ben Foster,
there's a
another
second
short, great
remake
actor.
or continuation of the Elm Street films, who would be a good Freddy? Not Robert.
Oh boy,
It can't be Robert.
I'm not reading that comment section.
A lot of
I can't
people,
wait.
dug that. You know what's funny about that? I've always pointed it out. People say no one but Robert, but if you ask them that question, they'll have an answer.
That's true, actually.
They all have their opinion. Yeah.
Well, let's see
I
what
thought
we
you said
get.
no one but Robert.
We'll see what we get. It's a loaded question. So if you're watching, go check that post out. What Sean say?
I know a lot of people were into that kid who was on Stranger Things season 4 that played the Vought monster. A lot of people were vying for him.
Oh yeah. Well, shit, man. I think the Duffer Brothers could make a hell of a good Elm Street film. I mean, season 4?
They
4?
did it with season 4.
Dude, I know.
Season 4 is just a Nightmare on Elm Street movie.
I was like, this, like, I was getting goosebumps, and the girlfriend at the time was like, "Wow!" I was like, "I feel like this is like an Elm Street movie almost. It's got everything I would want in an Elm Street movie."
And that's why they look at that guy and think, "Oh, he could play Freddy," because they've seen him basically play Freddy in that
and
show.
He could.
Whereas if you told him, "Hey, that guy from the Twilight movie should play Freddy," like, fuck that guy.
What about
He can't play Batman.
What about the guy who played Pennywise? Was it Alexander Skarsgård?
Yeah, he was amazing.
He could play Freddy.
Bill.
Yeah,
Bill
still
Skarsgård.
tall.
Thank you.
Bill
Yeah.
Skarsgård.
Well, I mean,
Or
Freddy's tall, lanky works though, right? Go ahead, Seth.
Well, or you could go with an unknown. I mean, Robert Englund was an unknown, and
He was in B.
I think it should be a nun. Go ahead.
And this is how you discover talent like a Robert Englund or like a Doug Bradley is by going for the unknowns instead of the names. Let
you don't have any
their
baggage.
talent shine.
You don't have any baggage. You know, that's what
Right,
I said,
and the audience doesn't see that actor; they see the character.
Yeah, that's why I said, the thing they should do if they want to invent a new Freddy is they do the TV show series like I talked about called Springwood, and they do the prequel, and they make it a mystery of who's the killer, and people get attached to that series and they start liking the actors and they're like, oh, maybe he's Freddy, but it turns out this guy isn't and this guy is, but then they get to fall for an actor and their character before they know if he's Freddy or not. It could be somebody else. Therefore, by the time it's revealed that this is Freddy, if people are watching that show, they're going to be on board to see him with the burns and in the movies, in the dream world, because they've been able to fall in love with that actor and that performer without the baggage of knowing that he's supposed to be Freddy, because it could be somebody else left field. And like you said, it's in the anonymity of it is what would help.
Okay, so one, I think that's a brilliant idea for a TV show.
Great, I missed.
But like, so how would you personally do it though? Because I know that you're big on the whole drifter, Freddy. So in order to do that, you would have to kind of conceal that.
You would have to reinvent it, because if it's to me, it would be a remake. It's a remake, so it will be different. So yeah, you make people think it's the drifter. You make people think it's the kind of weird family suburbanite guy. You use all those tropes and all of those stereotypes of
and
serial killers.
Then make him a father.
Yeah, make him someone the least you expected. And you just cast an amazing actor knowing this guy's going to be our Freddy, but we're not going to let the audience even suspect him or be obvious that it's him.
Okay, so we're not getting any real responses, by the way, on this Freddy post I just put up.
They're all sleeping. Yeah, they went to church. They all went to church this morning.
Somebody said Bill Hader.
I don't know about Bill Hader. I love Bill Hader, but I don't know.
Kevin, I do too. He's great, but
everybody thinks Kevin looks like Bill Hader.
Kevin who?
Kevin Roach.
Oh, whoever you pick won't go over well because they're not England. Jackie Earle Haley did a great job, but never had a chance against the hardcore horror gatekeepers. That's a good point.
Well, that's why I was saying you let people fall in love with an actor in a role before you just say, hey, this is our new Freddy.
I think that's what they're doing with the Rings of Power with Gandalf, because they have this unnamed character that came from the sky who's has this whole thing with fire, and he looks like Gandalf, but they're not saying it's Gandalf, you know? Yeah, I don't know if it's Gandalf. Teal MF Daily says, then no film. Michael Rosenberg says Kevin Bacon. This is my favorite and my choice as well. Alex Wiles says Vin Diesel. Especially if it's a part of this, because, you know, this one's a family movie.
It's about family, man.
Exactly, family. Yeah. David McIntyre says Beyonce. And then James Flores says the no. So that's the only comment.
I'm sorry, it's inevitable, guys. The man's not going to be here for probably another 2 years.
These comments are rolling in. So somebody said Jim Carrey. Jackie Earle Haley, somebody said that.
Jim Carrey could probably scare the fuck out of you in that role.
Oh, he could.
He was pretty close, Fire Marshal Bill.
Oh my God, Fire Marshal Bill scared the hell out of me. No joke. No joke.
I think Jim. I mean, Jim probably wouldn't just wait. But I think Jim could have, under makeup, I think Jim could have done just as good as Robert Englund.
Yeah, I think you're right. And he's got that lanky body. I think, again, now he might be too old at this point. I mean, we're getting that.
He is. They're not going to cast Jim Carrey.
No, they're not going to cast Kevin Bacon either. Kevin Bacon's about the same age almost the same age as Robert Englund.
Because that's what Robert kept telling all these people, kept saying, when you're going to do it, when you're going to do it again. He's like, man, they're not going to hire me because they're going to want someone who can do 5 movies, not one more movie. And he can't commit to 5 more movies.
He might need to be alive for 5 more movies. I hate to say that, but, you know, he's getting up there. It's like Harrison Ford. He's 80 something. You know, that's why this is going to be the last Indiana Jones, with him in it anyway.
So, but there's no there's no movie. I mean, we got so many Draculas. We got so many. I mean, it can work.
There was only one Dracula, and it's Christopher Lee.
That's Max Schreck.
Well, I mean, that's the point. Like, that's what made me laugh about the whole Hellraiser post from like a week or 2 ago. Is like, there's so many Batman, Spider-Man, James Bond, Dracula, Victor Frankenstein. There's so many characters that have just been, recast over and over, and it almost seems fine to a point. But then you get people like Freddy and Pinhead, who I'm glad are beloved horror characters, and I'm glad that Robert Englund and or should I say Robert England, like all the people on the internet, and Doug Bradley. Like I'm glad that they're beloved as those roles, but
and we'll always have their movies.
Well, exactly. Like I can watch them anytime,
Exactly,
and
yeah.
I'm someone who, because I love sequels, I want to see more of each of
What's
these
your
series.
name?
Sequel Seth.
There we go.
And
go ahead.
well, I'm just like, and I think for me personally, I'd rather have more of these movies. I'd rather than take a chance on casting, especially I'm big on them casting an unknown. If they can get someone who can bring the sort of the personality and sort of the body language there, you don't have to do identically like Robert, but you can have someone who can bring their own thing in. So like I would want them to take their time on the casting process. But I Nightmare on Elm Street is such a unique horror franchise. There's a lot of great ideas behind it, great mythology, and it's just something that, because of the nature of Freddy himself, it's just a series that could keep going on and on and on, with that character going after different people in their nightmares. I think that's really cool, and they should do that. And I don't remember the point I was going to make, so I'm just going to hand it over to Nate.
And I forgot what I was saying.
Too much pot.
Not enough pot.
Yeah, I don't remember what I was saying.
Sorry, man.
No, I had a thought, but who cares?
I mean,
it's
to piggyback what Seth was saying, though, I really want more of these movies. Elm Street, more so than any other series, could live on for a long time in different ways, and different actors even play Freddy.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've accepted it. I accepted it when Jackie Earle Haley was cast.
Well,
I mean, it wasn't
that's
him
what
that
I
was the big problem.
That was what I was going to talk about, was Jackie Earle Haley. Jackie gets way too much shit for that movie.
My only problem with him is two problems: his makeup and his stature. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Like, his performance is very good.
Yeah.
And he's written very well. He has some of the best Freddy lines ever, in my opinion.
Yeah.
His dialogue is spot on. The problem was the movie was dark and depressing and emo.
Yeah.
The movie had forced remakes of moments from the original movie that didn't need to be in there. They were shoehorned in. They don't make any sense when they show up in the movie. People didn't like the whole worked at a children's daycare center. They didn't like that change. That also makes the whole glove. He wasn't killing children. That makes the whole glove thing redundant. It makes the boiler room thing redundant. He didn't work in a boiler room. He didn't It makes a lot of problems that way. But to me, Jackie Earle Haley in better makeup with a better film around him may not get the shit that he gets, because Jackie Earle Haley is a phenomenal actor. And he was terrifying in that. He was great as Rorschach. He was great in Little Children. He was, I love the Bad News Bears. I've always liked in Breaking Away. I mean, I've always liked Jackie Earle Haley. I think he just, and even like just a lot of people get like, I thought Kyle, what's his name? Gallner? What's his name?
Gallner, yeah.
Kyle Gallner, I think, is phenomenal in it. I always liked him.
Differently, by the way. All three of us pronounced it differently.
And Rooney Mara gets a lot of crap when she's not a bad actress.
As you say that,
I mean, she's turned out to be one. No, she's not the issue. That's the way the character was written. Yeah. People trash Rooney Mara for being. people attack her for her performance, but that's how Nancy was written in that movie. She is not the Heather Langenkamp version of Nancy. She is a child who was molested by a man. She's a victim. She's become introverted. She's not the outgoing all-American girl. She's a damaged, introverted character who, and that's the way Rooney plays it, because that's who it was on the page. She was not doing an imitation of what Heather did. She's not playing that same character.
Well,
Rooney is
I want
the issue.
I would like to point out you're exactly right, because Rooney Mara was not playing Nancy Thompson.
No.
There's at one point where you see where there's some paperwork in the movie where Nancy has a completely different name, so it's not even Nancy Thompson. That's why
this movie doesn't have to be a remake in that case. They just live in the same house.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It didn't need to be, but they put in those elements, like Nate said earlier, that were shoehorned in, that were referenced in the first film, that didn't need to be there, that tried to make it a remake when it didn't need to be.
Now,
and I feel like Bayer was forced to do that. If anybody lost in that movie, it's fucking Samuel Bayer, because this guy was like a hot director. Like, he made the garbage music videos, and he had done the American Idiot videos for Green Day. You know, he was a hot Nirvana. This guy was a hot thing, and he wanted to move to film. And he didn't want to do this movie. And they said, if you do this movie, we'll let you do the movies you want to do. And he did this, and it bombed, and he hasn't made another movie since. And so for starters, why they constantly hire filmmakers over the last few years? Like, the last two Nightmare movies were directed by directors who didn't want to do it. Ronnie Yu had to be begged to do Freddy versus Jason. He had no interest in it. And Bayer didn't want to make the remake. So, and then I'm sure they wanted a yes man, and I think that's what happened. So that's why you get all these pieces in that movie that Bayer probably said, why does that need, like, Freddy coming through the wall? Like, it has no, like, Nancy's just sitting there in bed, and he comes through the wall, and it then disappears like that and nothing. It's like, in the original movie, it was the start of a sequence. It was Tina's nightmare. He's going for Nancy, and the crucifix falls, so he goes to get Tina instead. And, there's a purpose to it.
I mean, like all movies, the main villain behind the scenes is the producers.
Oh yeah, the people who don't know anything about filmmaking.
Exactly. I fully blame, and I've seen interviews with them. I don't think they're bad people, but Platinum Dunes, I do like, Michael Bay as a popcorn director, and his partners with Platinum Dunes. They're okay, whatever. They're businessmen, whatever. But I feel like Platinum Dunes, they had maybe too much control, and they were, I don't know.
They're about imagery.
No, they're not. And all the
imagery, like, it's like they think about pretty pictures. They don't think about story. So, like, you look at the Amityville Horror remake, looks beautiful. It's not a good movie.
It's terrible.
Yeah,
right,
it's like,
yeah.
I mean,
but I agree with what you said. It does look good. Go ahead, Seth. Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand to a point, Hollywood is a business, and I think that they are businessmen. And I feel like they, especially with their remakes that they've done, and I don't hate all of them, by the way, but like they seem to have like a kind of a low opinion of the audience and what the audience wants. And so they give like these kind of like half-ass efforts. Just my own opinion.
Yeah.
I think the most interesting thing about the whole pedophile angle in that movie is that so many fans don't seem to realize he always was a pedophile. And, they don't. And so many people have a problem with that, but they don't mind that he murdered and butchered 5-year-olds. But that was too much. Yeah. But it's like, he was always that.
Down a lot in the original movie, but I mean, his roots are that,
I mean, most child murderers, that's their motive, is they're sexual predators, and they, it goes to that.
I think that probably would have been like way more accepted if they didn't try to do this additional thing of, well, is he innocent or isn't he innocent?
Yeah.
And if they made it, where, yeah, okay, he was a pedophile who became a murderer, I think that would have been one thing if it wasn't that additional sort of mystery to the movie, which I felt like would have probably made it an interesting story, and it's an interesting idea, but it was just kind of useless because they didn't really have the balls to actually change it up. But I know we're supposed to be talking about Freddy's Dead and we're talking about the remake, but I like the remake better, so I'm fine with this.
We got a show on the
Yeah.
remake coming up. We just don't have
Yeah.
a score. I want to go back to this comment here. This guy says he'd like to see Nathan Fillion play as Freddy. I got to tell you, that sounds terrible.
Yeah.
And as much as I like and respect Nathan Fillion, he's not suited for every role. Everybody wants him to play every fucking part ever.
I don't
And
get
it
that.
drives me crazy. I don't understand it.
I mean, I dig.
I could see him as like. I'm sorry, Nate.
What?
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, like, I guess I could see him if he was playing this Looney Tunes Freddy's Dead version of Freddy.
There you go. Yeah, with a southern twang, because he's got that little twang going.
I didn't mean to cut you off, Nate. By the way.
No, I mean, I was just saying, I've never understood this admiration for Nathan Fillion. I mean, I don't dislike him, but
I feel like if people think of him as one of us for some reason, I'm not sure why, but
I guess people really like Firefly. I guess.
I mean, Firefly was good. I liked it, and he was great in his couple episodes of Buffy. But like, I've never been like in love with the guy. Oh, he needs to play Hal Jordan. Oh, he needs to do this. Freddy? Yeah, come on, not Freddy.
One thing with Hal Jordan, he voiced him, didn't he?
Yeah, but the people wanting to be Hal Jordan was before that, and they finally like, okay, let's put his voice on. And guess what? It doesn't work. Hal Jordan's not. He doesn't have that accent ever.
Yeah.
Sorry, I like the guy, I do, but he's not right for every fucking part. And that's he should be Han Solo. He already played that role. It's called Firefly.
I remember him from Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place, the Ryan Reynolds show.
What is it?
Did you ever see that? Right, it's the first time I ever saw Ryan Reynolds. It was a sitcom called Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place.
Oh no, I've
and
never
then
heard of
it got shortened to Two Guys and a Girl, but he played the girl's boyfriend. That was.
Oh.
I vaguely remember that show. I watched it when it first came on.
The first thing I remember is that Dr. Horrible sing-along thing that he was in with Neil Patrick Harris. Because I didn't watch Firefly initially, and I didn't remember him from Buffy at all. And I saw that, and I thought it was hilarious. And I looked at his filmography. I'm like, oh my god, he's in a lot of stuff I've watched. So, and then I went back and watched Firefly because I refused to for a long time. Because I'm one of those people that if everybody's in on it, I'm not. You guys know this about me.
I just see Freddy as a scrawny, little creepy guy. I don't see him as a big.
Somebody on the chat.
I know Wes originally wanted him to be a big guy, and he was supposed to be. And
now that Robert established what Freddy kind of his especially like I said with the problem with Jackie Earle Haley is his stature. I see Freddy as a guy who's about 6 foot, between 6 foot, 6'2", skinny as all hell. I mean, that silhouette is very important to me. That Robert has at the very beginning of the first movie, and I'd like something along those lines. The crooked shoulder gunslinger. But this guy says that he thinks Robert Knepper should play Freddy.
A lot of people like Knepper for the part.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the face for it.
And I don't know what did he do, but whatever he did, he must have played a character very much in that nature. For people to think that.
Let me look.
He looks really familiar.
He was in Prison Break as T-Bone or T-Bag.
That's probably what. So he was probably kind of a creepy, sleazy character on there. Because that's usually what people need to see you play something like that before they start thinking, this guy would be good as Freddy.
Too, people. He's old too.
He's 63.
63.
Yeah, they're not casting him.
No, he'll never be cast. I mean, he looks the part, but yeah, you got to remember, they're going to want a young buck. They're going to try to find somebody in their 30s first.
They
of
want
all.
somebody in their 30s or 40s that
Yeah,
can
Will Arnett won't. He's not going to do it. Though
do it for the next 10 years.
Yeah, Dwayne Johnson.
Dwayne.
Oh man,
I always wanted to see Billy Bob Thornton, but he's too old now.
Just CGI. Robert Englund, Freddy, or Englund is Freddy.
I don't want to see the deep fake Freddy
Michael
shit.
C. Hall. That's interesting. He might be too old. Tony Todd, Candyman. Walton Goggins. He's too old too. He's almost in his 60s.
Walton would be great, but yeah,
he would.
Yes, he would.
Joaquin Phoenix. No.
It's like everybody I'm thinking of. Like that's the thing. Like
Tom Holland. Come on.
Because I'm in my 40s now, all the actors I'm thinking of are too old for it. Because I don't know a lot of young actors that much. So there's like all these young guys out there who no one knows, but maybe they're on a hit TV show or something, and like I don't watch that show.
Somebody did say Vecna from Stranger Things, and I mean, I kind of agree with that. I think that could work. You know, as long as they got to give Freddy that witch nose, though, the hook nose, you know? Not this. Go ahead.
Well, I don't know if you remember from our last episode, Ray, but like one of the things I mentioned too was like, because again, I would go for either the unknown or even possibly the guy that played Vecna, but get Robert Englund, give him a executive producer's credit, have him work closely with the actor for posture, for body language, get Robert to do ADR.
Like a Freddy class.
Yeah. Maybe have a couple close-ups with Robert in the Freddy makeup, just like one day's worth of thing, whatever, and then just kind of like sort of I know this is a terrible word now, but groom a new actor by getting Robert Englund to kind of help work someone into the role to the point where Robert didn't need to be there anymore, and this person.
I hate that that's such a nasty word.
All you can do that. You can get someone to imitate, and you could put somebody in the makeup. I mean, look at this. Is it Paul Bailey who did the video stuff where he had a part 2 makeup on, and he was doing these little clips of him imitating Robert, and people are like, "Oh my God, it looks just like him. He should play Freddy." And the thing is, like, yeah, he's doing a great job, but that's the thing. All people want to see is something that looks like Robert in the same makeup and acting just like him. And me personally, just from the background of filmmaking and acting, is like, I don't want an actor to have to imitate another actor's performance. I don't want to see that. I want to see an actor. An actor doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to do 5 movies where he's imitating Robert Englund. He'll make Freddy his. And that's what I told Kevin. I was like, I don't want to see Robert Englund. I want to see Freddy. And so, to me, that's what works.
I 100% agree with that, Nate. And I didn't mean for someone to just completely imitate Robert, but to do certain things to sort of like streamline the character to make it so like there's a little bit of nuances here and there where the audience can recognize Freddy, but let the new actor do their own thing at the same time. But like sort of like almost like sort of like transition this new actor into the role, get the audiences comfortable with him by doing certain things that Robert did while doing his own thing, and then let him go on from there and just kind of sort of evolve from there. Because I agree with you, and you're not gonna. I mean, no actor is gonna want to come in and just do what someone else did before.
Hey, we want to hire you to be Robert. Be Robert.
Yeah, no, right. And like only you're going to get a fanboy to do that, and then you get the guy who does like the Harrison Ford imitation, and everybody's like, he should play solo. It's like, but can he act? Can he carry a movie?
What was that guy's name? He could, because he was just reciting old lines, and he was in a movie as Harrison Ford's younger self. But
it's like instead of casting Austin Butler to play Elvis, you just cast a guy in Vegas who does impersonations of Elvis.
I think they should have cast Lisa Marie as Elvis.
Well, you know, a good example of this is
Nicolas Cage.
Spider-Man 3. So like Danny Elfman quit on Sam Raimi for that movie because Sam Raimi wanted him to do more like Christopher Young sounding music, and Danny Elfman said, "Well, if you wanted Christopher Young so fucking bad, hire him."
Yeah.
And eventually the two made up, and Danny Elfman actually did come in and help out a little bit in the post production. At that point, Christopher Young already joined on and did the main score for that. But that's that type of situation where you had one artist who was like, "No, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm not going to do what someone else does."
Yeah.
That's an example of that.
Yeah. Because as an artist, I mean, Nate, how often have you been asked to do a certain style that you're like, no, I've got my own. Although you can do all kinds of shit, but as far as your
Well,
art
if
goes.
we're doing a parody or an homage to something, I don't mind it.
No, but like, what
it's
if
like
I
if
heard you
that's
do a
all,
comic book? I'm like, hey, do Jim Lee's work.
yeah, I'm not gonna do it.
Exactly.
I'm not Jim Lee. Get Jim Lee.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like,
Right.
it's like, but that's what it's like you talked about. Like when I did Confession, I told Kevin, like you said, the little nuances. There's little things that Robert does that is Freddy. The way he carries the glove, the way he moves the glove, the surfer board walk that he has, his posture, things like that,
Mhm.
and the way he uses his neck and all these things. And I told Kevin, I was like, I want you to incorporate those things, but I want you to make the film character yours. And then also in the vocabulary, Freddy has a vocabulary. I know how he talks. I know things he says, the way he says it. So I handle that part in the script. So as long as he's saying, stuff like my children and things like that, little piggies, you can emulate them. But I don't want to see someone. Again, it's like it might as well be seeing an impersonator in Gatlinburg, playing Dolly Parton. Like I don't want to see an impersonator. I want to see someone embody a character. Like
Kevin had that stature too of so similar to Robert Englund's. I mean, you could see it in the intensity that he brings to the role. That's one of the things you think you need to see is you could see Kevin's eyes in that role played a huge part for me. If that makes any sense to you, you know what I'm saying? Like his eyes were intense when you look. Like he always had kind of like the bug eyes. Janine, sorry about the bug eyes.
But he looked like I wanted a character that you didn't want to be sitting across the table from.
Right, exactly. And you got that from him.
And I wanted him, and he would just stare at Tom like that.
Yeah.
And Tom said it would make him nervous because Kevin would just stare at him like that and wouldn't take his eyes off of him like that. And that was a choice that Kevin made to unnerve Tom. And it worked. And people watched that movie. There were people who said, I didn't think anybody could do it, play the part, and Kevin won them over. And the same thing with Roberto. People say, oh, I thought nobody, but Roberto has Robert down, or could totally play Freddy. And
he wasn't bad. I still think no disrespect to him at all. I liked Kevin's portrayal a little bit better.
Roberto had a look.
He has that look, yes.
Like his face has a very similar shape
got the
to
nose,
Robert.
his nose especially.
Yeah. And he was good in it.
Yeah,
definitely.
And he had
respect him.
Roberto had the look, obviously, and it was also he talked like Robert does. Hey, I'm Freddy. Yeah, here. He got that part of Robert's
Nate's
delivery.
bedtime voice right there.
Whereas Kevin can't really do that because his natural voice is the way he sounds. That's how he sounds. Like people thought we changed his voice. Like that's how Kevin talks. It's his voice. Maybe not as scary, but that's the gravelly voice because he damaged his vocal cords in a play or something. I just think it's more interesting to see because it's knowing how many talented people are out there in the world. It's just stupid to think that no one can do it because there's so many talented actors out there who you just haven't seen it yet. And again, it's really the luck of the draw. Someone else could have won that role other than Robert Englund, and today we'd be saying no one but John Updike can play Freddy Krueger. It's like, who's John Updike? Well, he auditioned in 1984. He didn't get the part, but what if he did? He would be your Freddy. Because that's how it is. He's my Batman. He's my James Bond. He's my only because he was the first one you fell in love with. Doesn't mean he was the only one that can do it.
You don't ever hear anybody saying that about Jason. Do you? Like, there's no other Jason than Kane Hodder. But then again, I guess it doesn't matter. There's only one Michael Myers, and it's
Tommy
whoever.
Lee Wallace.
Tommy Lee Wallace.
Well, I mean,
There's only one Michael Myers, and her name is Deborah. Whatever.
to be fair though, like yeah, it doesn't come up with like the killers that don't talk. It's the ones with personality.
I know, like Pinhead, and it's mostly those two, Pinhead and Robert. I mean,
Well, I
Robert-
mean, even
Ooh.
with remember the Child's Play remake? You know, that
Oh,
was that
yeah,
one guy
yeah.
that was like, "Not my Chucky."
Not my Chucky. I gotta find that. That guy was out of control. Did you ever see that video, Nate?
I don't know.
There was this guy. His name was I think Anthony Thurber, and he fancies himself like a horror maestro or something like that. And boy, he went on YouTube and went like he used to watch our show like all the time. And he went on YouTube and not my fucking Chucky, and like had a big baby fit. This guy's in his mid-30s.
Who's this? Who's not his Chucky?
Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill.
Oh, okay.
Dude, calm down. It's not even. It's a fucking remake, and Mark Hamill can do anything. I mean, we didn't expect Mark Hamill to become the Joker and be the best Joker of all time. You know,
I thought
Luke
the
Skywalker?
Child's Play remake was a blast.
I had fun with it. Yeah, I had fun with it for sure. That's one I'd love to talk about on the main show, the big show, at some point. I know Seth would. Seth just has a boner over Chucky all the
But
time.
you know, that's the problem with nostalgia is that people just like that's my. You know, you'll hear people like when the X-Men movies came out, like, that's not my X-Men. Or what's the X-Men? Oh, the ones out the show I watched in the '90s, the cartoon. I'm like, you know, they were around for 30 fucking years before that movie, that show, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not like you're. You know, like, there's always you fall in love with what you saw first. And somebody right now is watching the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street for the first time, and it's the first Nightmare movie.
There's a decent
And they
amount of
think-
people who like it.
And they
So,
think Jackie Earle Haley is amazing and scary as
Yeah.
hell in that movie. And then they find out, they go online, they go, he sucks. And
Yeah,
you're like,
I
"Why?"
mean,
that was great.
that's the bad thing about online is people trash everything, and then people who fall in love with stuff end up, check this out though.
They
We
get
had
swayed by it sometimes because they're too embarrassed to own it. Like say, oh, I guess it does suck.
37 people gave A Nightmare on Elm Street 2010 out of 444, so almost 10%, a 5-star rating. So that's not bad. That's better than I expected.
There's
And
always,
that's funny because then there's crickets after I said that. I can hear crickets on Nate's end.
well, that's true. Like I when I did that Blu-ray cover for Halloween Resurrection, I got added to a Halloween Resurrection Facebook group.
You did a
And-
Blu-ray cover for Resurrection?
Yeah, over in Germany or Austria or
Oh,
something.
okay.
And-
One of those ones I probably stole and put online. You told me to take down before you knew me.
And the thing is, like, this was a group filled with people where Resurrection was their favorite Halloween movie, and most of them were young, and that was the first one they saw. They had no bias, they had no prejudice against it. They just enjoyed the
Yeah,
movie, and
absolutely.
like they didn't have that baggage going into it. Whereas, like, well, this isn't what and that's what people don't understand. It's like it's not that the movies are bad. I mean, I'm not saying Resurrection. I don't think Resurrection is even that bad of a movie. It's just that it's not what we want. No, I think if it wasn't Michael Myers, it was just another serial killer.
No,
it would
I
probably
don't
be
hate
more popular.
Resurrection. I am an apologist for that movie. I mean, I know it's likely the worst of the series, but it's not that bad to me. It's not.
I think it was
I have
another
fun with
killer. It would be fine. And but this one guy who became he's the one that added me. Like that was not only his favorite Halloween movie, it was his favorite movie. And
That's weird.
so yeah, you think it's weird, but it's like, but that's the thing. Like every movie has those fans. I could sit there, like I don't talk about the movies I don't like, but every time I'm coaxed into saying, all right, I'll tell you, I don't like this movie. I'll just get everybody. I think that movie's great. I love that movie. And I'm like, so there's always somebody who's like adores those films, and if you trash it, you're just hurting people's feelings. So
Yeah.
I don't want to go through life hurting everyone's feelings,
Yeah.
so because I'm not accomplishing anybody by going on.
No.
I'm not accomplishing anything by going online and say I think this movie's a piece of shit. Like what am
But
I
when
doing?
it comes to the show, I want your honest opinion on whatever we're talking about.
This show asks me my opinion, so
Yes.
I give it.
but I don't go around spraying it
Oh
out.
shit! I think I found it, Nate. This looks like your art style.
It's like him looking out a window or something.
Yeah. Oh, I love this. Oh, it's so small. The picture they have that's like, there we go. That might be a little bit better. I want to bring it up because it's pretty damn cool. Looks like it's in a media book too.
But I got added to the group, you know, and like, because they all thought I was a fan. I'm like, nah, I just got a paycheck.
Well, technically, you're a fan of the series, though.
Yeah. I mean, I get to draw Michael Myers. I'm a happy guy.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's the good one or the bad one.
It's just the one, right?
It's just the one.
There he is. Yeah, this is awesome. I love this. Seth, have you seen this? It's the one on the right. That's as big as I can make it. That's what you said. Oh.
Oh no, I haven't seen that. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to have that hanging on my wall. That's better than what fucking Scream Factory's been doing with their bullshit covers for the 4K.
That's better than the movie itself.
It is. Oh, come on. You can't wait till we dissect that one. Oh, okay. So, Freddy's dead. We're going to wrap this up now because we got way off topic, which I don't care. This is some good conversation, if you ask me. This is all stuff that, I mean, I'd love to do a whole show on the future of Elm Street and what, but I don't know if anyone wants to hear our opinions because Robert's the only Freddy.
You ain't never going to win those people over.
No.
So.
Oh, no, never. And that's fine.
But
because,
I know a lot of diehard Nightmare on Elm Street fans who are very
people
open-minded.
Yeah, well, let's get them on a panel. But there are people out there who don't want Derek Mears back as Jason. It's like,
it's crazy. He was so good.
He was awesome,
and he loves the role, and he's enthused. And just like James Jude Courtney was so in love with playing Michael.
He was really good as Michael Myers. As the show. He was great. I will say that. Not so much in.
I think he's the best since Dick Warlock, even though a lot of people don't like Dick Warlock.
Oh, I love Dick Warlock in that. I just
love
don't
Dick
like
Warlock.
The mask looks on his head. That's my only issue.
I love it. It's kind of creepier with that Warlock stretch.
I can see that. Because like we get later into the series and you get the guy who's in part 4 in part 6.
George Wilbur.
Yeah, George Wilbur. He doesn't look right in 4, especially in the shoulder pads and that terrible mask.
I just notice every time I find pictures of that original mask, the ones that I like the most are usually ones from part 2.
Really?
The images. Yeah, there's just something about, I guess, because he dirtied it up. He said he always pulled it off by the nose and stuff, and like the paint would come off the nose. And just the way it stretched, and I don't know, just something about the hair was blonde again, wasn't spray painted black like in the first one. And it was just, I don't know, I find those images creepier from part 2.
Plus, you have one of the best pieces of art for that right there. And if anybody doesn't know that Nathan did this was Nathan's artwork. Yes, paycheck. Isn't this the first one too?
I didn't need a paycheck for that one. Huh?
Isn't this the first one that they released?
The first cover. They released part 1, 2, and 3 on the same day, and I did both of those. So
yeah, they should hire you again because there's part 3.
They don't want me no more.
But they should because their art is suffering. Honestly, if I had to choose from you doing Halloween for these 4K Blu-rays versus what they've done, I mean, I have the first one somewhere. It looks like shit, in my opinion. And no offense to the artist, I'm sure he did what he was supposed to do. I hate it though. That's just me. Seth hates it too. So let's do our scores. Nate didn't do a score because he just came in as for some fun. Nate, you want to stick around for the scores?
Sure.
All right. Here is Seth's score for Freddy's Dead.
Jesus.
But look how happy he is.
That's like It Follows score.
No, it is not. It Follows is a fucking masterpiece. I'm saying it now.
It is, and they got a 64%.
That's bullshit. Some people just have like an anger towards new horror. That's what I'm gonna start calling it. New horror, like new metal, new horror.
Ain't that bad.
Right, but unlike It Follows, Freddy's Dead was not a very good movie. It's my least favorite I rate it very low for writing. I rate it pretty low for directing. I rated it pretty low even for effects because I didn't think really the effects were great. They weren't awful by any means, but they were not great, especially in the Elm Street series itself. Um, Entertainment factor, I rated it middle of the road because I can watch it. Like I said, it's just it's a it's a disappointment for a movie where, and again, this all just goes back to the fact that the people behind the scenes knew at the time anyway that they were making the last one, and this is what they settled on. I don't get it. I like Carlos. I like Carlos's death. I like a few other elements here and there in it. I don't think the cast is awful by any means. I think everyone does a sufficient job with the material they had. Um, but just this movie, I don't have very much love for it. So
Yeah.
that's why I rated
Cast,
it 41.
the cast is the best thing about the film.
Yeah.
It's probably
There's
right.
not a lot of there's not a lot of greatness beyond the cast.
No, for me, I gave it a 46. It's a little bit higher. Uh, I didn't like the score, but I did like the addition of music. Like there's a couple Foo Fighters songs, or not Foo Fighters, Goo Goo Dolls songs on Goo Goo Foo whatever. Goo Goo
There's
Doll
some
songs on there, and of course I give it a little bit of a bump because I absolutely love the credits. The credits, it's just a highlight reel of Freddy movies, and that's something that I could just watch all day long, you know. And plus, Why Was I Born? Iggy Pop, good stuff,
yeah.
man. But there are some good things. I like the nightmare sequence with Tracy. That's a fucked up nightmare sequence, and I like that she kind of faces down her nightmare in that one rather than succumbing to it like the other guys do, showing how strong and powerful of a character she actually was. I actually liked her quite a bit, and I love Lisa
And
Zane.
Tracy was awesome.
Tracy was awesome. Yeah, I wish I could catch her at a convention, but I don't see her ever on the circuit. Uh, and I love Lisa Zane. I got to meet her a couple years ago, and I can't wait to do it again because she is just heavenly. I'm sorry, I think she is. She is. They're like the way she
She's
speaks in
she's
person. Have you met her, Nate?
I haven't met Lisa, but yeah, she's a
God, she
very
is
beautiful woman.
she is so soft spoken and like everything about. She doesn't look like she's aged a day. Oh, beautiful, gorgeous woman.
I don't think your all scores are off. Actually, I think they're pretty much on.
Well,
I think it belongs in the 40%
yeah,
area.
that's our combined score is 44.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think that's a fair. I bet Rotten Tomatoes has it like in the teens,
well,
the
actually,
twenties.
let's check. But you'll be surprised when I show you the community floor because we also have that up as well.
Well, the
As you know,
community sometimes seems to really like this movie for some reason.
yeah, I'm gonna pull up. There's the community score, but I want to look at. I forgot to look at the how many 1 stars and all that stuff. Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare, Rotten Tomatoes, 23%.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
it was in the teens or 20s.
Yeah, and then well, our community gives it a 54%, which is pretty high. It's not the high. It's let's see, it is the second lowest of all the Elm Street movies,
And the
and
remake,
the remake has the lowest, of course.
Freddy
That's
versus Jason should have the
41%.
lowest.
Freddy vs. Jason is way too high. It's 84%, but this did get 70 out of 531 rates, 5 star, but 2 and 1 star, it's about 230 from almost half of the ratings. So it's the second to last highest rated Elm Street movie or Freddy movie, I should say.
I mean, I would say that I I like the Freddy and all the Freddy stuff in Freddy vs. Jason more than Freddy's Dead.
Some of it's okay,
The
but
makeup was better. Robert's performance was better.
yeah,
The Elm Street side of it wasn't too bad. I know
but
that movie doesn't. I know that movie doesn't hold up,
no,
and
not
I
at
know
all.
that the writing isn't great, especially with the main characters.
But even some of the choices they made, like that scene where he's going to drop all that shit on Jason, he calls him a "hey asshole," And Robert said the original line was, "Hey, Mama's boy." That would have been better. I mean, that's just a small thing, but shit
I
like
love
that
the-
bugs me.
I love the cut kind where he says, "You're dumb, you're slow, and you got no style." That was a line that was cut from the
Yep.
final film. And I was like, "That's so great." And but yeah, to me, yeah, Freddy had not looked that good since part 4,
Exactly.
makeup wise.
Well, it was a
And
different makeup too. It was really cool looking. He looked more
Yeah.
demonic, and it was very red.
I did not like the demon stuff though. I thought the demon look was stupid. I was like,
Yeah.
he's not a demon. He's a human.
Well,
who-
maybe this is a sequel to Freddy's Dead.
But he did look great. Robert was great in it. It was classic England. But where the Freddy's Dead is better, is the Freddy's Dead characters are better to me than the characters in Freddy vs. Jason. The teenagers in Freddy vs. Jason, I don't really like at all. Even though I had the biggest crush on Monica Keena back
Me
then.
too. I had the biggest crush on Monica Keena.
She's kind of awful in the movie. In many ways, there's some scenes where I'm like, oh my god,
She's not fit to be the final girl, the main girl. Like, what's her name? Catherine Isabel's in that too, and she's just not right either. And she's
I think the only guy that does a really good job in that movie is the blonde-headed kid who gets killed, the Zach Ward's character, brother.
Yeah.
I thought he was really good, dedicated to it. But everyone else in that movie, I don't really like any of them, and I don't believe any of them, and I don't. I think the characters in Freddy's Dead are better than those kids.
I will definitely give you that point. Totally, 100% agree with that. But I think the way that the film was like, the way it focused on the Freddy side, on the Freddy story, Freddy's abilities, like everything that was happening with the nightmare stuff, I thought was handled better. I think the way that the film was written on the Freddy side, because it was it's a terrible
Jason movie.
Yeah. I mean, they don't understand Jason whatsoever.
Nope.
But where that film really works is the Freddy side, and I appreciated that because it felt like they sort of, even though it wasn't the best written or the best made, I felt like they at least understood elements of the Nightmare franchise better. If that makes any sense. I'm probably just rambling now.
The writers went on to write the remake, right? The Friday the 13th remake.
They did, and again, like I mentioned earlier, I fully understand that the credited writers are not the only writers on the project, and that they
that movie
have to incorporate
especially that movie,
ideas.
Well, didn't the writers, the two guys that got credit for this, say they used one line from their script, like that was it, like they got the two guys who wrote the script, like they said that maybe 4% of their script is actually on screen.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I don't remember if David S. Goyer is credited or not, but he did rewrites on it. And that's the nature of the business, is that your script is going to get rewritten. Yeah. Other people are going to write what ultimately becomes the shooting script, and they won't get credited for their terrible decisions. You, the original writer, which is right, but I don't know what I'm saying. I've been drinking all day, but basically, literally all day long.
You kill me sometimes. That's hilarious.
Literally all day long.
I've been drinking all fucking day. I have no idea what are we even talking about today.
I'm losing track of my point. It's just like I hate to blame the writers, because I understand the perspective of the business when it comes to the writers, but at the same time, I don't know. Anyway, you guys take it from here.
You did fine. I think I don't know. I can't wait. Have you watched Freddy vs. Jason yet?
It's been a couple years since I've watched.
I know you've seen it before, but I mean before. Because I'd like you to rewatch it before we do the show, if you could.
I will.
Yeah.
I just feel like Freddy vs. Jason on the Freddy side was not so bad. I understand the character problems, the acting problems.
That's the stuff that I have a trouble sitting through, are the the humans in the movie, like the people. Like I felt like all I want to do is get to that fight scene.
Yeah.
You mean the people that are on screen for most of the movie?
Yeah, I don't care to follow them. I'm like I don't like these
My
characters.
biggest issue with this movie is, like Seth said, it does not hold up. It's extremely poorly dated.
Yeah,
And this was the movie also. I saw it in the theater opening night. And I'm sure maybe you guys did as well. But like, I waited 15 fucking years for this movie. We all saw this coming, you know. And then when New Line acquired the rights to Jason, it's like any day now we're going to get this movie. And this was what we got, and it was, in my opinion, it was terrible back then. It's terrible now.
Well, see, I loved it back in
Of course you did.
03. I saw it multiple times in theaters.
Seth, looking for Seth's replacement for the horse. No. No, I think a lot of people though did. Even hardcore fans of both series. You know, to your point. Go ahead.
I had fun with it because I never thought I'd get another Freddy movie.
No,
That's how I look at it.
Yes, and it was the only one I've seen with Robert Englund on the big screen. So,
and technically, this was the last Freddy movie with Robert.
yeah. It's just the Jason side of that movie is what drives me nuts more so than anything else.
Yeah, I hate Jason's portrayal. I hate the way he looks in this one. He looks so bad, and Kurzinger was one of the worst to play the role, even though he was told to walk like a Frankenstein's monster.
They made him Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, this all goes back to Ronnie Yu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ronnie Yu didn't understand that. He didn't understand. I think it's lost in translation with the teenagers. I mean, they've got a guy. They talk about people being forced to play other roles. They got a guy in there forced to play Jason Mewes. I mean, it's like why is Jason Mewes in this movie, but it's not Jason Mewes? It's kind of like Breckenmeyer when Breckenmeyer was supposed to play Jay in Mallrats, and he's like, why are they recasting? The guy was great.
Yeah,
he was. I didn't know that.
Yeah, Breckenmeyer was one. They wanted Breckenmeyer to play Jay in Mallrats. The studio did because they didn't believe that. Because Jay wasn't an actor, you know, he was just Kevin's friend, and they're like, we need an actor. And they're like, but he's perfect. He's just being himself.
It was like almost the same situation as like Phantasm 2, where like when Don Coscarelli wanted to make that, the studio, because Universal did part 2, and they were like, well, they didn't want A. Michael Baldwin and they didn't want Reggie Bannister, but Coscarelli at least got Bannister to play Reggie, but he was forced to recast Mike, and they wanted to do that with Mallrats, where they wanted Jay and Silent Bob played by different people, and Kevin Smith fought for that. And
what's the matter? I don't want that in here.
I'm gonna jump off here.
All right, Nate. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you on Wednesday, man.
Yep.
Later, man.
1984. What? What's the matter? Hurry, because I'm on the show still. Okay, never mind. Tell everyone to change the laundry around. All right. Well, that was Nathan Thomas Milliner as a special guest on the Up All Night show. It was fun having him on. But yeah, we ended up talking about a lot of shit. When Nate has no limit, it turns into a long conversation. And I tell you what, man, we could have some good conversations, some deep conversations about just random shit in the horror world. Just not. I mean, I love the discourse, you know, breaking down movies and shit and what we do here. But man, there's another show to be had, talking about stuff like this. But I had an idea for another show while we were talking. It kind of goes back to this show, and it's I'd love to do a show where we just argue about which movie is better. I still want to do that. I think that would be fun because we're talking about Freddy versus Jason over Freddy's Dead, and I'd love to get two people defending one movie and two people defending the other, and then we just kind of go at it.
Oh my god, that's great. But I was gonna ask you because I know you're a Star Wars fan. I didn't know if you saw this, but the Film Threat YouTube channel, they have this awesome like mock court thing about Disney Star Wars right now.
Yeah.
Where there's like people who are like prosecuting Disney Star Wars for the murder of Star Wars. And then there's people who are defense. And it's actually a really great conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Like I obviously the people fighting against Disney were they had the best presentation so far. But I just thought that was a really cool concept. It's funny that you kind of mentioned something similar to that.
I mean, I don't think we could do it in a trial format because I'm not smart enough. But
No. It was just it just reminded me because I know you're a Star Wars fan. I was going to tell you about it.
Yeah, but we do the versus. Well, we haven't done it in almost 2 years now, thank God. But the March Madness brackets and all that stuff, I could put one of those up, and the winner of the conversation can be voted on by the fans. In that, I think that might be something to think about in the future because we've talked about expanding the show into 4 or 5 episodes. So, but. Freddy's Dead was the topic tonight. We got off topic, which is fine. You guys don't care. You love us. Come back on Wednesday as we're gonna talk about everything 1984 movie wise. Our top 5 horror movies, our top 5 non-horror movies, and then we're gonna combine the lists in our top 10 films from 1984 in general. Should be a good time. Spoiler alert: my number 1 horror movie is A Nightmare on Elm Street.
What a shock!
What a shock!
I did not see that.
If that show goes over well, we may do that again with another year. Well, the reason it came about was Nathan said, plain and simple, 1984 is the best year in film. That is what he said, and I was like, well, let's do a show on it then, because we're going to do the summer of '84, but no thanks.
I would like to test out 88 or even 81.
I said the same thing. I think 88 or 87 could be there because 87's got Lethal Weapon. You countered with 88 and Die Hard. And 1988 in horror was huge. You had the return of Michael Myers. You've got Dream Master, all that good stuff. Oh, best of the 80s. Sorry, Nate. Best of the 80s. Still, what do you think the best year of film period is? That's another good question. But it's going to be a fun episode. We're doing that on Wednesday starting about 7:30 Eastern time. And we're going to break down all of our favorites from 1984. And yes, Seth, if this goes well enough, we're going to do 1988 because I'm going to make sure Die Hard is not number 1 because it's not number 1 to me. Actually, I have no clue what my number 1 from '88 would be, so it might be number 1. So never mind. Never mind. I have no idea.
I would like to hand in my resignation.
Goodbye.
I'll give you my 2-week notice.
2-week notice? How about a fucking 2-hour notice? How about a 2-minute notice? No, I got to look. I have no idea what my number 1 from '88 would be, but that was weird. Anyway, thanks for joining us. Let's see. Nate says, I love Die Hard, Lethal Weapon, and Predator, but are 87 and 88 was loaded with good films as 84.
I think so.
Yeah, well, this just in general, the 80s were a fantastic decade.
Or how about like an 84 versus 88 episode at some point?
Ooh. Nate
and someone else can be on 84. Me and someone else will be on 88.
I think if it's me, you, and Jared and Nate, I feel like me and Nate would be on 84 because I feel like Jared would be more. Because I don't know. That's a good question. God damn, who's ready to rumble? Who's ready to rumble? Anyway,
So let's fight.
Let's do it. Oh, the Horror Syndicate at war. How many years on you guys? Oh, I have many years on you guys. Not many, only like 4 for me. Come on.
Listen, Grandpa.
But to be fair,
I'll kick your walker out from under you.
Yeah. What? Oh, I didn't know you could do that. Like I saw a lot of 1984. Well, yeah, because I didn't see Blood Simple until the other day. So yeah. Anyway, we're gonna wrap this up. Seth, any final thoughts on Freddy's Dead? This is the final time we're talking about Freddy's Dead because we've talked about it on Discourse twice with a show, I think, early on, and then it's probably not the final time. We saved the best for last.
Well, to be fair, we only talked Freddy's Dead for maybe 10 minutes tonight. But yeah, my final thoughts on it is it's my least favorite in the series. I'd rather watch Freddy vs. Jason and the remake. But hey, that's my opinion. Like I said, I've been drinking all day, so I'm not even with it right now.
I think I love Freddy's Dead a lot. It's not my least favorite. I still think I do have the remake below it because it is kind of dreary, and I don't like some of the characters. And I still the stature thing with Jackie or Haley bothers me, but I think Freddy versus Jason is even lower in my book. So like last time I watched it, I was like, come on, really? This got made. I am gonna watch it again before we do the show. Next time we do this show, it'll be on a different night. And we're doing New Nightmare. And probably not going to be too long of a show because we just did New Nightmare on Discourse a few weeks ago for the anniversary. I think it was in April. But we'll do that show, and then right after that's Freddy versus Jason. Remember Wednesday, we're doing our last Wednesday show for Discourse. We are doing just a whole love affair with 1984, and then in 2 weeks from tonight, we're starting Discourse on Sundays, and we're gonna break down the Neon Demon. I think it's our first episode back on. I think it's the 7th, right? Is it the 7th? Something along those lines. He doesn't know he's drunk. So anyway, everybody have a great night. We'll see you on Wednesday because you can't get enough of us, and we can't get enough of you. So bye. Kids.